Well, this is a very interesting book. It's an interesting book. It's a big book. It's really big. And the title is a little deceptive. It's the Tycoons, and it's how Jay Gould, John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, and Pierpont Morgan built the American super economy. It's about those guys, but what it's really about is a history of how the U.S. Became the economic superpower that it was all throughout the 20th century and continues to be. And what Charles Morse does, he discusses those guys, not in the kind of detail that, say, Ron Chernow did with his biography of John D. Rockefeller. But what he does is he gives the background. He gives the background of the railroad industry, the steel industry, the growth of big farms and things like that, oil. He really explains how everything got so big so fast. And what these guys were doing was in an era when, there was very little understanding of how commercial paper instruments would work, or how big business could be put together and could be harnessed, limitations on securities and things like that. These guys took advantage of the openings that this lack of regulation, experience, law provided, and put things together. And he goes into really interesting details. Now, I'll give you one where he's talking about these tycoons. And this one really involved Jay Gould, how Jay Gould almost by accident, but really not by accident, cornered the gold market. And, it had to do with European importers paying for their imports with gold. But U.S. exporters, particularly farmers out in the Midwest, were paid with greenbacks. So there's a discrepancy both in value and in timing on greenbacks and gold. And Jay Gould exploited that and managed to, for a short time, corner the gold market. And like I say, it comes across almost as if it were accidental. Now, in another part of the book, where he's not talking about, these tycoons in particular, he describes how the U.S. became a consumer economy. The growth of department stores, mail order catalogs. He describes how and why white-collar jobs became so important, so prevalent, so much a part of the U.S. economy. I found it very interesting. He goes from topic to topic. He mixes in these guys, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Morgan, and so on. And I would say on the whole, he paints a pretty favorable picture of these guys. To some extent, I kind of admire what they were able to do. They were really imaginative, really ambitious, and they got it together. And, as he points out, Morse, the author, points out that we're still living off, to a certain extent, the capital that these guys created. Now, this book, I don't know what Charles Morse would think about how he would interpret the history of the 19th century and try to understand the rise of artificial intelligence today. This book was written before artificial intelligence became a thing, but I think that he would, as I do, welcome the arrival of this technology. See what it's going to produce. And there are going to be people who are going to be able to harvest it and make the entire economy all better. I absolutely believe it. Anyway, this book, very interesting, very well written. And, where he's dealing with some complex financial transactions, he is able to do that in a way that the average bear, and I'm certainly average, can sort of understand what's going on. I recommend this book. I think it's worth the investment of time that you've got to make if you're going to read it. So this week's recommendation is The Tycoons. It's by Charles Morse, and I think you'll find it interesting. Like I say, it's a challenge to read, but I think it's worth it. See you next week.